Hello and welcome to Advertisers Watching Ads. This is a weekly show where brands watch other brands' ads.
I've had an experience of going through a drive-thru and not knowing which buttons to press and actually also being miles away from the window.
They're really focused on the consumer around the nervousness and the struggle that you have when you're first learning to drive.
We in Italy, we get to be formed through a very wild driving style downtown through narrow streets in the city centers, okay?
My name is Tom Ollerton. I'm the founder of the creative effectiveness platform, Automated Creative. But before we get to this week's ad, let's meet this week's guests.
Hello, everybody. Chiara Fracassi. I'm the marketing director for Amplifon Italy.
I am Helen Gillbe. I'm the EMEA Demand Generation Director at ProofPoint in EMEA.
Hey everyone, Phil Jackson, Global Digital Marketing Effectiveness and Innovation Director at Haleon.
What a panel and what an ad. We are going to see an activation by McDonald's in the UAE.
Drive-thru ordering surged during the pandemic, and while it revolutionized convenience, one thing was left unaddressed. How to drive in a drive-thru, especially for anxious new drivers. Are they confident in a drive-thru? McDonald's wanted to boost new learners' confidence.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
خلصت ناكل داخل كل شيء.
Ready for class?
So we teamed up with UAE's leading driving institute and built a drive-thru inside their driving practice circuit. The Drive-Thru School.
No way.
What? Is that McDonald's?
This is amazing.
But will they pass the test?
لا 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 ما يوقفون شيء.
No, too close. You'll damage the mirror. Stop. Back up a little.
Welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you?
تشتغل. I want everything.
Next window.
لا كده بعدت جدا انت كده مش هينفع هنلف ونرجع كمان مرة نعيدها.
Take your order.
Hey. You know where this is?
They even received a drive-thru license.
Drive-thru license? What?
The drive-thru license.
أيوة.
New drivers got rid of their fear and gained confidence on how to navigate through a drive-thru, making the Drive-Thru School the most awaited lesson.
Stop.
On a scale of 1 to 5, how many points would you give this? 1, 2, 3. Oh, is it a 3, a 4, and a 3? Right. So I dug deeper on Contagious, who are our partners for the show. Thank you, as ever, Contagious. 300 students went through this drive-through experience. It had a reach of 32% of the UAE, 28% increase in drive-through sales, and brand love went up by 13%. So, Helen, what do you think of this?
I personally absolutely loved this ad. It was entertaining, it was comical, and I can really resonate with it as well because I actually feel like, I've had an experience of going through a drive-through and not knowing which buttons to press and actually also being miles away from the window. So I think it's an absolutely vital part of any driving test moving forward. I think the ad itself is something that can be scaled. It's obviously experiential and it can be scaled outside of the UAE as well into any other market.
I mean, if you have experience in any way a drive-through at McDonald's, it's quite painful. And I can assume that if you are a newbie driving, it could be even more painful. So I'm quite sure that the defining insight is pretty strong. I'm not super clear, just watching the video, of course, how strong the overall execution. That definitely looked like a case study. What did they do to reach such a big audience? I mean, it left me with this kind of curiosity, trying to understand how big the exploitation was, if they tried to scale it up through different touch point. Question mark.
I understand it in its entirety. It's probably based on a really interesting piece of insight around one of the barriers to getting a drive-through is, it's quite complex. Just navigate through, and if you're an inexperienced driver, it probably feels quite daunting. I thought it was a really interesting choice of something that's gone very mass market. They didn't really, for me, feel like they sold why drive through. From that, it was like a tangential kind of piece, but it wasn't why drive through. And I'm surprised the results they got. The results are very positive, but I'm surprised they chose that kind of barrier or reason to believe around kind of promoting drive-through as an entire concept. As a piece of experiential, love it. Kind of tactical piece of experiential. It's really love the way they executed it.
And I think you can definitely see from the actual kind of creative itself that it does land itself well for, the social kind of platforms as well. So I think, on those platforms, you have a lot of younger generation on those platforms, and I think it's definitely appealing to that. And so I can see why it would resonate with an audience on social. I do think as well, however, obviously, I know it was a post-pandemic campaign, but I think the ad itself is obviously dated itself by having people still wearing the masks, etc. So if you think about the longevity of the ad, then it's not going to have huge amount of legs, because obviously now, no one is really wearing the masks and things anymore. So it's like it will have to be recreated to kind of live in the current times as well.
It's difficult to understand from such a distance. I mean, we are based in the Western world. And to be honest, I had to pause myself from looking at this ad through the lenses of someone living in the West. I was completely unaware that it's a struggle for young people in the United Emirates to get to learn how to drive. We in Italy, we get to be formed through a very wild driving style, downtown through narrow streets in the city centers. Okay. So for me to get to learn that you get a driving institute was a wow. Oh my God, they must be very, very distant from how reality looks like when it comes to driving.
Is this actually a very low cost PR piece?
Yeah, and I think it possibly is, because also I did some research to find out a little bit more about the ad and how it performed. I couldn't find a huge amount out there in terms of people actually picking it up, even from a PR perspective. So if that was the main objective of, the actual experiential activity, then, I think they would have missed on achieving that, because they just didn't necessarily get the coverage that they perhaps would have expected to get on the back end of it.
How would you improve this? What do you think are the obvious builds here?
It really is about focusing on drive, improving the rate at which people are using that channel. Then I think focusing more on just the driving experience and, what happens when you've got your lunch or your dinner, and then where do you go next? I mean, my memories of getting a drive-through is the car stinking the next day, really stinking the car out. Like, have you then got the drive home? Are you going to park in the car park? Or I think they can continue it on to be a bit more complete in the narrative around what the drive-through experience is, other than if you're not careful, you might prang your car or do damage to the window.
Is this just an awareness ad for one of their services?
It really depends on what basis you're starting from. I mean, if the original awareness was for a specific target group, maybe it's credible that they're having such a jump. To be honest, awareness does not always mean activation, either consideration or activation. So question mark is maybe that kind of experiential marketing could mean a specific activation for that target group. So I'm still with a lot of open question, but I think McDonald's, they know how to do stuff. Even if we think of Burger King a lot of times lately, but I think they know what they do. So if they picked up that specific service, I think there must be a reason. It can be the awareness, it can be the activation of that specific target. So I'm eager to learn more.
What will you be taking back to your teams with this?
They're clearly trying to be innovative and to do something different to stand out from key competitors. So, some of their key competitors, whether it be, like you say, Burger King, KFC, etc., everyone has a drive-through. How can you create something that's different, that's going to be innovative and make you stand out from the crowd?
They're really focused on the consumer, and the consumer here insight is around the nervousness and the struggle that you have when you're first learning to drive. So they're really putting the consumer at the heart of the story here, which is admirable. Have they gone maybe too far and are not balancing enough the consumer and the product or the brand itself? Maybe for me, yes, but I do like that element of it, that they've really kind of doubled down on the consumer and what maybe their challenge is, and as a result, maybe have started something that can build a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to finish on. Would you sign this off in its current guise? 1, 2, 3. Oh, come on, Helen. Okay, interesting. I was not expecting it. Well, there you have it, McDonald's. An interesting and creative bit of work. Thanks to our panelists, and we'll see you all next week.